at the bottom, the front page, the bottom part of that of the front page of the Nation newspaper that talks about drought.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, it begs the question. On one hand, the government says Kenyans are not starving. There's enough food for everyone. Then now we see again the Kenya Red Cross asking Kenyans to contribute, which begs the question, are we in the same country with the leadership of this nation? Because if you're saying the country is not starving, then why are you distributing food? Why are we having humanitarian organizations requesting Kenyans, appealing to Kenyans to actually donate? Vivian.
I think it's a case of the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, or one party being in denial, possibly, because I think drought is a reality. It's not the first time it's happening in Kenya, and I don't think the way forward, the solution is to come out and say, you know, this is not happening, because it's a symptom or a result of something. So, you know, last year we had the armyworm invasion, which of course affected food security. The weather has also been very, you know, erratic, and these are things that affect food production. So if we come up a year later and say we're experiencing drought, it shouldn't be like a surprise. Actually, it's something we should have expected from 2 years back. The irony, Brenda, is 2 years back, still this Kenya, we destroyed about 400,000 bags of maize because, you know, they were not
fit for human consumption.
Yeah. So it's as though it's either, I don't know, we don't plan or we don't anticipate that, you know, there'll be a problem coming up ahead. If we already knew we had an armyworm invasion, we knew the weather had been erratic. So of course, drought is something that would have been unexpected consequence.
Okay, and you know, Mutie, I liked, if you checked on social media, specifically Twitter, I liked what Senator Mutula Kilonzo wrote, and he said, instead of this senior government officials sitting within their air-conditioned offices and issuing press statements in Nairobi and saying, oh, there's no Kenyan who's died, yet we have our reporters on the ground who are giving us facts, you know, and talking to Kenyans who are starving. And he suggested, you know, leave your offices, go to the ground and see what is happening. Then you will be able to know, indeed, we're in a crisis. This is not the first time, as Vivian has said. Year in, year out, we face drought as a nation. Next, after drought, it will be floods. Then we look like we're not prepared. In the 21st century, I mean, what message is what picture is the government trying to create, as much as they're saying it's not as bad
as it is,
as it was before?
I think, to me, first of all, I want to say that drought issues are inevitable. They are here to live with us, and we are here to live with drought. How you cope or you go about or navigate about the whole menace of drought, I think it's all what boils down into planning. And I want to say that, well, there are, okay, part of the stories are true. As far as I'm concerned, some of the stories are not true. I want to say that the government, the national government, you know, we are talking about two-tier governments here. The national government itself, in its right senses, I'm sure it has done something to mitigate about this problem. Because when you hear the stories coming from the National Drought Management Authority, which is a body mandated by law to mitigate on matters of drought management as well as climate change adaptation, to me, they have done a lot. Actually, when you go to those frontier counties and you see the kind of intervention that NDMA has done, to me, it's a plus. Because
it's a plus, yes, Mutie.
Yes.
Of course, we'll be getting into deeper conversation about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, during the week in review. It's a plus, yes, what you say, we don't deny.
Yes.
But even if it's a plus, seriously?
Yes. What I'm saying, the national government having done so much to mitigate any issues to do with the drought in terms of preparedness and also response. I want to say that the county governments also have a stake in this one, because we are all blaming the national government while we have the foot soldiers on the ground.
Okay.
County governments have local administrators, what we call local administrators, and they are found in every sub-county, every ward level. They are there monitoring the situation and relaying that information to their seniors or to the county executive officers who are the governors. So my question is, if it has come to that point where even a governor, for example, Lonyangapuo from West Pokot, yesterday is saying that he has lost 2 people out of hunger, then you ask himself, then you ask, Where was he? How could he not have gotten this information prior before? The national government gets this information to intervene because their CDPs have a lot of budget components which are meant to mitigate issues of this.
All right, just hold on to that thought. We'll be getting back to that again. But it's good that the statement came from a governor who says he's lost 2 people.
Yes.
Yet the government comes out to say we've not lost any Kenya.
Not lost any Kenya.
Let's go to page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And page 2, leave alone the autopsy suggests lawyer son shot from outside car, because it's still a matter in court. So we can't actually talk about it. It will be, you know, it will be going against, you know, the law. But it's still on that page 2, down there. Vivian, if you can check, it's the government has come out to say that doctors were never given that, you know, that rule that you cannot come back home. And yet we, you know, Monday when here on KTN News, when we're talking to the Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, that is Uma Oluga, and he said that the doctors who've been taken there to be trained on family medicine were actually, you know, what they signed was bounding. You can't come back home and you have to finish the program. And if you do, you're fired, or your salary is actually deducted. So where do we lie as a nation? Because if this whole Cuban doctor exchange program has made Kenya look like we don't even care about you. It created a picture in terms of, you know, Kenyans who go looking for jobs using agencies to the UAE, and they're left there to suffer. That's the kind of picture that Kenyans are saying. This is what the government has actually done to our learned friends. Let me use the word learned friends, because they take many years in university before they become doctors. Vivian.
The irony is that the Cuban doctors who are hosted in Kenya are treated so much better. I mean, they're provided housing, they're provided, you know, transport, things that their counterparts in Cuba probably don't even get to experience. I think it's a case of, you know, a prophet is never respected at home. So when the doctors are in Kenya, and when, you know, they go on strike and say, we need more equipment, we need more medicines, no one wants to listen. People just want you to go back to work. But when a Cuban doctor comes to Kenya, suddenly you're listening, you're giving them, you know, more support. It's just really sad.
So is there a need to have the Kenyan doctors come back as requested by the doctors' union officials?
I think it's not necessarily.
It's not even a request, it's a demand from them.
No, I think they are going overboard because they are not exhausting all the aspects that could have contributed to the death of this young fella. Because if they had done so, of course they would have come to an understanding that perhaps this could have been the cause, or perhaps this is what could have done to mitigate the problem. So to me, I do not think that going to an extreme of recalling the entire team back home is the solution. I think the solution is just creating a room for dialogue and trying to understand what are the nitty-gritties,
But when you talk about creating room for dialogue, remember, even when the government announced, you know, back in 2017, no, actually 18, when this deal was being, was being signed between the current cabinet secretary Cecily Kariuki and the Cuban government, they raised concern about it, and they were like, first of all, it's the deal was shrouded in mystery. The government, they say the government is not outside there giving information that Kenyans need. They're saying that this family medicine program that you have taken our brothers and sisters to go study is not even recognized, not only in Kenya but globally, and they've already written to the UN, you know, and it's saying that Kenya is actually going against, some of the rules and regulations when it comes to health. So I mean, when you say that they've not exhausted all mechanisms, yet concerns are not only raised by the doctors' union but also by the Kenya Medical Association. Vivian? In a case where concerns have been raised and people have tried to, discuss these issues, I'd just say it's a lack of goodwill, from the government, to listen to the doctors, to listen to their concerns, to act, and not just listen, but to actually act on them, do something. We don't have to have a drastic case of, a death for us to take action, and we are generally very, very, very reactive. We wait for something drastic to happen, then we act. All right. It's very rare cases where you find specifically the government is proactive on a matter. Okay. Yes. Okay. And as we bring that conversation about the Cuban doctors with the Kenyan doctors, the exchange program, and Mutie, I mean, yesterday we saw, the Senate health committee meeting with officials from the Ministry of Health, and they're like, you're going to send the CAS for health to go to Cuba and a psychiatrist to talk to Kenyans. Will that, quell the high temperatures within the medical industry?
Yeah, of course, it's one of the avenues of alternative dispute resolution mechanism where parties are brought to talk in terms and understand what could be ailing the relationship. Because if somebody goes to an extent of committing suicide in a foreign country because of maybe poor living standards or working conditions and so on and so on, I think it raises a question whether it was just an individual case or it is just the whole lot which is facing the same problem. So the fact-finding mission that has been actually mooted by the Senate Committee on Health, I think to me it's a good idea. However, it would have been a good idea if a delegation from the medical fraternity would have actually accompanied them so that they actually work devoid of the political shenanigans and address the matter in an objective way. Because politicians are politicians, they'll go there just stamping that we have the mandate of the people, we are elected leaders and we need to get these answers, blah blah blah. And you find that the atmosphere is not conducive for negotiations, for dialogue, or for creating solutions. So to me, I think it would have been good. It would be a good idea if part of the medical fraternity accompanies the team, and also because they understand the medical fraternity very well, other than the politicians. I do not want to actually put them down, but it would be a good working relationship if the two combination actually work hand in hand to get a sort of solution from this problem.
All right. And allow us now, we need to take a short break. But when we come back now, we shall be diving into the deeper now conversation.
Absolutely.
When it comes to week in review. Of course, we're just having a look at the press review, what's in our newspapers, and we are having that discussion here on KTN News Morning Express. Time to take a short commercial break, but keep it KTN News because we'll be right back